Hour two of Leland Live with April Marie. Okay, let's see if I can get fired a little bit more fired up here in the second hour. I it did occur to me I should give myself some sunlight. That would probably help this situation over here. I walked in. Andrew wasn't sure who was going to be here, so all the lights were turned off, and he was like, "Oh, hello," and so I got a little slow road today. Okay, one of the things I saw this weekend, and we have heard a lot when it was announced that Elon Musk, with his all of his holdings and assets, would be a billionaire, I'm sorry, a trillionaire. Then people were like, "Oh, he could give everybody money. Oh, he could give all the money away. Think of all the good he could do with his money." Well, there are people who have been giving away money, lots of money. Mackenzie Scott Bezos, a great example of this. AJ, I don't know if you want to do the YouTube. I'm okay if you don't. But Mackenzie Scott Bezos is giving to philanthropies all around the world, and I want to use philanthropies with an air quotes here because uh, in addition to her spending, which some of it absolutely, I say some of it, a lot of it absolutely legitimate, taking care of medical bills of people, giving to some colleges for people to pay off debts, all sorts of things. But in addition to that, she has been giving to a lot of leftist organizations. And a lot of the division that we have in our nation can be directly tied back to her and to some of the leftists in her circle. I was watching a podcast of this weekend of this idea that these tech donors, millionaire, billionaire elitists who think that they know better than us, who have all been kind of hoodwinked by also the same people right there on the left, and so she has given to support abortions. She has given to support all sorts of immigrant DEI issues, including millions with the state groups with state admissions like empowering the Latinx community, deportation defense funds, justice and equality for LGBTQ immigrants. She has, and this is coming off of the heels of her divorce. She got approximately $38.3 billion worth of Amazon shares in her divorce, has already given away $16 billion in the last 5 years. One of the things she prides herself on is this no strings attached. So once she decides to give money to a charity, it doesn't matter. She's not tracking where it's going. She's air quotes trusting these people. Have we not seen the indecency of so many on the left? Everything, I mean, literally, movement after movement, from George Floyd, the groups that were essentially supporting the communities supporting individuals to go in and wreck their own communities, to all the way through. And there's been 10 different of these pop-up cause du jours for the leftists, up to and leading to the No Kings protest. Hey, congratulations, guys. We don't have a king. Hey, we haven't had a king in a very long time. Don't tell them. They're very excited. The blue haired, the seniors that were going to these protests, getting paid, the young people with their green and blue hair and nose rings. It's kind of crazy to think about the billionaires over in California and New York that are funding this. And we know they're funding this. I watched, it was painful to watch, painful to watch the protests and rallies when the Supreme Court came out and said, no, we are not going to allow states to gerrymander districts the way we've seen Alabama and other states have to do it for racial purposes. No, we're going to discontinue that. Well, what happened? Almost immediately, because they now have a plug and play model, the left cranked out these TikTokers, these YouTubers, these leftist influencers, and there's a money trail. There's always a money trail where a lot of this money trail has led back to Mackenzie Scott, who used to be married to Bezos. Elon Musk called her out this weekend over her giving, because calling it, and it was funny because in one word he said concerning. Well, it is concerning. It's concerning, a that you can't really follow the money. That the left has made it so much so through these weird nonprofits that with altruistic sounding motives, but are actually going out there and undermining. Not only are they undermining free and fair elections, which is what we saw, what we continue to see with these leftist groups out there chasing ballots and doing illegal ballot harvesting, and doing in California, you saw where they were essentially paying. There are videos of them essentially getting the homeless to sign up for getting ballots, and then it's a pay to play operation of getting out those votes for leftists. We've seen that. We've seen with the immigration talk, and last week there were a number of really good immigration decisions. The temporary protected status decision has the potential to be huge for our nation. But I started writing a social media post. I didn't end up not posting it, about this idea that in order to support sending people back home, you have to be not compassionate. I talked about this last week. It has nothing to do with compassion. And where we go wrong is that these leftist groups, again, supported by these same individuals, including Mackenzie Scott, they're out there telling these stories. AL.com does this. They did this. They've done this in several major instances here in Alabama, where they find a deportation and then they pull on the heartstrings. Oh, look what they're doing. They're deporting all these really nice guys who really want an opportunity. But they never tell you the flip side. They never tell you the way that those who are trying to do things legally, that they're impacted by the illegal immigration and the illegal immigrants who come here. There is a machine. There is a very well-funded, well-fed machine out there that is the left in destroying election integrity and pushing to get people who are here illegally to become citizens. And we all know their ultimate end goal. Their ultimate end goal is votes, right? They keep themselves in power, and when they're in power, they can then funnel their money through fraudulent activities. How many blue states are we seeing that in? And then it becomes this never-ending perpetual cycle. And all it takes is some of these very, very gullible, very, very wealthy individuals starting the ball in motion with these groups, and then they become these self-fulfilling prophecies of just chaos. They intend to create chaos. They intend to go out there and support in one way or another these illegal immigrants, whether it be through lawyers' fees, which, imagine the lawyers' fees associated with all of these lawsuits that are intended to keep people here, especially those who we know that the Trump targeted first. We had the gang member in Virginia, and all that rushed to his aid and rushed to his side when he was fighting his own deportation. Ultimately, judges all the way along the way, and these left wing judges, who a lot of them, and we talked about this with a guest last week, a lot of this funded by groups out there who are putting leftists on the bench, because what they can do then is you get leftist elected officials supporting these illegal immigrants here. You get these leftist judges who are thinking they're more powerful than Trump himself, more powerful than the U.S. Supreme Court, more powerful than Congress, and they put stays on these guys, and the lawyers end up making a ton of money off of it. And who is paying? Because it's not the illegal out there paying, although at times they will go bankrupt fighting for themselves. But what they'll do is these left-wing organizations funded by millionaires and billionaires who don't have to deal with them in their backyard. They don't have to deal with the daily repercussions of this. They don't have to deal with their kids going to school in a school that is now has switched over to primarily Spanish speakers, primarily children who are disrupting the class, primarily children who were brought here and aren't ready for it. No, they don't have to deal with the consequences of any of that, because they're in their own little echo chamber, their own little bubbles, and far away from the consequences of their actual actions. I want to talk about this. These leftist groups, kind of laughing over here at Axios, talking about the Democrats creating their own Tea Party structure. Well, it's going to be hard for them to do because we have seen and know how the far left, the wackadoodles, get their people out. Can they bring their moderates out? Can they fight back? I don't know that they can. Be back in just a minute and talk about this. You guys hold tight. Phone lines are open. April Murray here, filling in for Leland. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, talking about the left. They have become their own worst enemies. And you look at the elections in New York City, and you can see this. But it's not just New York City. They've got a U.S. Senate candidate in Michigan right now calling for the abolishment of ICE, saying the agency shouldn't exist. There's no reforming, no retraining. There's only abolishing ICE. And so, their crazies are becoming their biggest spokesman, and it's been a slippery slope for that. It started with that squad, and has continued downhill since. I think it's to be expected in some places, and we've come to recognize some individuals, but it's becoming more and more mainstream for them, and becoming harder for the party itself to deny that this is what it is. Now, I mentioned, the idea of a Democrat Tea Party, where the members have taken over, and some are saying, is that what this is? Is this really the base? Was the base of the Democratic Party? Have they always been this crazy? Or is this something where the normies have to recapture their party? I think that they have shown over the last several years that they're not capable, that those who would wish to shut up the AOCs, that those who would wish to stop the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, that they are not strong enough, because they fear what we don't fear, which is being called names. They still, for a Democrat to be called, a racist or a homophobic or a whatever, because they're saying men can't be in bathrooms, or they're saying that, regardless of race, there are some stupid people out there. Jasmine Crockett is a great example of this. She's just stupid. She's not stupid because she's a black woman. She's just stupid. And the left seems to be really afraid to call a spade because they're afraid of that name calling. And can they and will they get over it? Only time will tell. All right, we've been talking about Supreme Court decisions today. I've been talking about them. I'm going to get more into them later. JJ on the line. Hey, JJ.
Hey, April, Marie. I was just thinking there may be a good side to Amy Barrett's part in supposedly conservative part in this. Doesn't the SAVE Act, if it is passed by Congress, won't it negate that, because it will put Congress as passing a law that doesn't allow that? I'm assuming that part of it is in the SAVE Act. I'm sure Trump put it in there, wanted it in there. So hopefully, but that means that we've still got a big problem, and that's with John Thune.
Yep.
I mean, he's been holding this thing up forever. He could have had that reconciliation thing months ago, and he's just not going to do it. And so, what? That's the question. What can they do with him?
Well,
it's almost as if he's a rhino. Would you believe that? And so I don't know. And I'll let you go and listen, but I want to say one other thing, and this is not a criticism, sweetie. But I know you're a Southerner, so I wish you would say y'all instead of you guys, because
that's so
I'm
funny.
not a Yankee. I'm not a Northern. I know they say that up there, and it's just a colloquial.
That's so funny, JJ.
The colloquial y'all. I hate it because I'm a girl. I'm not a guy.
Not a you guys. You
But
noted.
thank you, dear.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
JJ. That's so funny. And I do say both. I'll say, you guys, this is crazy. And I'll do it to my daughter and her friends. And I don't know where it came from. I was raised in Florida, but I'll do both. And JJ, I'll be more cognizant of the you guys. But I do say it. All right. So the SAVE Act, and I was looking to see if the SAVE Act would prohibit the mail-in voting dates, and I'm not sure it would. It would require proof of citizenship to vote, and the whole SAVE Act kind of centers around that. vote requiring people to show an ID at polling places. It would also, the requirement would count for mail-in ballots as well, which we have that here in Alabama. You don't get out of the ID requirement because you're doing an apps or doing a vote by mail. I really it to me is stunning that we haven't done more, that more states haven't followed Alabama's lead. You look at Florida. Florida's got it's like election month there. They've got early voting, they've got absentee ballots. And I tell people in Florida, in Georgia, we've seen this with the Georgia U.S. Senate races. You play by the rules you have, not the rules you want. And so, if you live in a state where you can do those things, we have to encourage voters to do those things. Arizona's the same way. In Florida, they will chase absentees. So if you are working on a campaign in Florida, you'll get a list of who has a vote by mail absentee ballot, and then candidates and will not, will go out and try to get you to turn those in if they think that vote is going to be for them. We can't stop doing those things in states that allow it. We, being Republicans, can't stop doing those things in states that allow it, because that's how the Democrats get a huge advantage on us. When Trump was saying to everybody, vote on election day and only on election day, in those places that followed his advice, we got crushed because the Democrats are basically having a month to get out the vote. They're having 5 different ways from Sunday to chase votes. They're doing all of the things. In an ideal world, not only would we have voter ID laws, we would have the same as we have here, no early voting. Although I did say some people have figured out a way to use the in-person absentee ballots to be kind of a de facto early voting here in Alabama. But also, no, you have to have a valid reason. I'd be interested to see if ever we have had people, or I know there have been just a small handful of voter fraud here in the state, and usually it's small cities. Usually it's Democrats, if not almost always Democrats. But going back and checking out to make sure those are the vote by mail are valid and have valid excuses. But imagine if we did that around the country. If we played by the same rules we have here in Alabama and other big states, imagine how the Democrats would fail. Because what they've gotten really good at is they've gotten really good at the cheating, and the ballot harvesting and all of that stuff. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, y'all, we'll continue today's top headlines. Back in a minute. You're listening to April Marie filling in for Leland. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. Today and throughout the week, we are celebrating America's 250th anniversary, woot woot, Independence Day. Apparently, not doing so well with our booth at the fair on the mall. Maybe we'll see if it gets a little bit of pushback, a little bit more pushback, and people being public about it. If they'll go do something about it. I feel like that's one of those things where Tommy Tuberville and or Katie Britt will step up and be like, "Wait, what do you mean? The Alabama spot is not great." So hopefully that's the kind of thing. Quick attention will get quick changes on. So I'll keep you posted as we hear about that. I've got open here, and I wanted to talk about it. Why does it feel like, and I am celebrating this month, that we have not heard as much about Pride Month as we have in the past? It looks like a lot of corporations are changing their stance on that. A lot of the stores that used to be pushing the nonsense, especially towards the kids, is starting to go away. And so we're starting to see this month, especially. I mean, we're at the darn near end of the month, and I can hardly recall a year where I have seen so little. I did notice that Disney has like a pride celebration thing, but even that wasn't front and center. So again, maybe they're starting to learn how we as conservatives, how we should push back against this. Exactly what we did. I boycotted Target for solid a couple years. It saved me gosh knows how much money to boycott them when they started going after children. But there was, in fact, another pride parade this month with naked men riding bicycles in front of kids and teachers out there protesting with them. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I've got Jason on the phone lines. Let's go to Jason real quick. Hey, Jason.
Hey, April, me. Your fans want you to know that we're experiencing April Marie euphoria now, that you're on the air. And, it seems like the skies are prettier. The people are driving nicer.
Look at you,
So
Jason.
we just got to keep you on the air. We're going to find you a time slot. But anyway, I want to wish you and your family a happy 4th.
Thank you.
Anyway, true story. We had a family that escaped Russia during the Cold War in the Iron Curtain at that time, and she would speak at different events, and she spoke at a church retreat. And this is real life stuff about socialism, communism. The KGB came in the middle of the night and locked up her brother. They never saw him again.
Wow.
In the middle of the night, just because there was a rumor that he may have said something about the government or against communism. And she said everybody lived in a state of fear all the time because you never could talk to anybody. You weren't for sure if they were going to, inform the KGB on you or, have you sent to prison or to the Soviet gulag that they had. And her speech was amazing, and she'd always bring the house down. I'm sure she's passed on by now, but I wanted to share that with your listening audience of how serious this is. You can't escape it till it's when it's already in place.
Yep.
Saying you have to fight you may vote it in, but you have to fight your way out of it. And this is serious business because there's some people that don't want a good America. They don't want a happy America. If you look at conservatives, we're happy people. We're going out and doing things, helping folks, giving our time and money. And all I hear about these liberals talk about how horrible things are.
Yep, they cannot see the bright side of anything. I have seen it's funny because if you go and you look, somebody posted video. One of the I think it was Savannah, one of the reporters I follow on X, posted videos of the one of the Pride marches, and it was the angriest, most unhappy looking individuals you have ever seen in your life. And there was like a cookie cutter. And these are people who have been told, and they need to cut off their family. These are people being told that if a church doesn't affirm you or your lifestyle, that it's wrong and bad, and they're not, and to step away from Jesus. There's so much wrong that we're seeing coming out of the left right now. It's frightening. But you're right. If we do not stop it now, and it's coming at us from all angles. From Muslims saying that they need to rise up and spill blood to these socialist communists across the board. We're under attack, and we're under attack from all different directions.
Amen. And stay strong, everybody. Take care.
I appreciate it, Jason. Thanks for listening. Okay, so during that last break, and I mentioned this while I was on air, I went and got a soda. I can't even tell you the last time I had a soda, but I got one because it's that kind of day over here. Started at that first hour a little bit slower, but now I've hit my groove and my stride here. All right. He was talking about the one of the first things they do. So there's kind of a playbook, right? Right. They take your guns, because if they take your guns, then you can't fight for when they start to come to take your other things. And right now we've got so much attacks on us, and it's even from property point of view. Right here, I was talking about the Supreme Court ruling that allowed people to exercise their Second Amendment rights in Hawaii. But I'm watching very closely all the data center stuff that's happening, and eminent domain being used all over the place for different government projects. The threats against our freedom are coming on every front, from literally from our First Amendment rights, and you can't say these things. One of the greatest irony of ironies is the Southern Poverty Law Center. The group that was policing what we said the most was funding the hate groups, right? We know, we have evidence of, there are literally indictments related to the individuals that they were funding who were perpetuating hate. But no, the left will tell you we're the hateful ones. If we say that if you are here illegally, you have to go home, sorry, we're the ones who have to be some kind of racist. If we are saying no, you can't come here and attack our country from within, we're Islamophobic. If we are saying you can't come after our kids, then we're LGBTQ unfriendly. It goes across the board. They're assaulting us on every front with our First Amendment rights. And then our Second Amendment rights, even in red states, we've got people trying to attack our rights. And so it's on all fronts: property rights, speech rights, gun rights, you name it. They're coming after us, and they're doing it, in a very sneaky way. Jeff Poore and I talked about the lawfare. We are seeing it right here in Alabama, where Democrats are learning that they can use the law, they can weaponize laws against Republicans and conservatives, and they're doing that in the race against Tommy Tuberville. That is lawfare, and the same kind of lawfare we've long since seen in New York come right here to Alabama. Rick on the line. Hey, Rick.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I ain't got a lick of sense. I ain't got much of education either, but what does it mean when people that are so radical are not radical enough on the left?
Oh, yeah, it's
That's
frightening.
what I've been thinking about.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. No, he's got a point. They are on the left. If you show any sense whatsoever, if you say that's a dude, they're like, oh no, you're one of them. You're a TERF, right? They have names to expel their own people from their own side. There is a reason that you've got these 3 members of Congress, now going to be 5 members of Congress, who are out there saying insane things, and the left won't disavow it themselves. You don't see them out there. Jasmine Crockett was literally sympathizing with a murderer and his family, literally, in her own words, on camera, talking about the victim's mother and the victim's parents and the victim's family, saying they don't understand what the black man had been through, and they should have sympathy for him and his mother and his family. We've got crazy things happening on the left, and they don't police their own. I say this all the time. I'm absolutely willing to police our own. I'll probably get a phone call or a couple texts about this, but Candace Owens is crazy. She's insane. She has literally made mocking and going after and attacking a widow her full-time job since Charlie Kirk died. That's crazy. We've got groypers out there who will say vile things and believe vile things. We have our own extremists. The difference is we're willing to say That's an extreme that we don't side with. Even if they vote Republican, we're not going to condone what they're saying. On the left, they don't do that. They won't do that. They're not a big umbrella. They're a strictly you will say and do what we think. I mean, you look at what has happened on the Hill. Nancy Pelosi was awful, 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 awful. But even she would, in her leadership style and people, would not condemn or criticize those on her side. Hakeem Jeffries, you don't see him out there saying, hey, let's look at this Texas case and let's go ahead and say, yeah, people should be able to sit at a sporting event. We got to stay quiet. We can't police our own. No. Remember what happened to Roy Moore? Now, and let's not forget, Roy Moore had a jury found in his favor that he was defamed. But with the right here, and air quotes, conservatives came out and was like, whoa, 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 we need to investigate. We need to slow down, whatever. They dogpiled on him. Now that's a story for a different day. We actually could do a whole segment on that. But the left doesn't do that. They have scared. They have gotten so scared of their crazies that they won't call them crazy. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more Leland Live with April Marie. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here. AJ attempting to keep me out of trouble. Thank you for the texts and the phone calls. You guys have been dolls today. Um, Big shout out to my friend Grady who's listening. Love you, Grady. All right, let's go to Michael on his cell phone. Hi, Michael.
Hey, a guy was going over the percentages of people that are voting in these Democratic parties, and they're running like 14 and 15 or 16%.
Yep.
And all of the radical candidates were winning. Those people have attacked the main Democrat Party and have them afraid to say anything or vote.
That's exactly right.
They just like they were marginalizing the Republican Party, and they're going to have to just open up their mouths and say something, or those people will take over the party. Really, I can't remember who it. Anyway, a position to control a position, it really only takes somewhere around 15%. And that 15% can be the controlling yes or no to a situation, and they're running in there with their 15%, and they're marginalizing the rest of the vote, and they don't even show up.
Oh, absolutely. And that's happening all over the place. I mean, we had in here in Alabama, we barely didn't even make it to 11% ourselves in the runoff elections. It is the turnout on the left has favored in these places, have significantly favored their crazies over above all else. And if they do want to defeat, here's the problem: is they paint themselves into these corners where they're like, well, if we defeat them, then we're going to get in trouble, we're going to get condemned. They're going to say we're these things, and so which is just silly town. They're going to have to take their party back. The Democrats will have to. They'll have to move over to to more traditional Democrats. Otherwise, they're going to lose their party altogether.
Well, I'm a Republican, and I voted the candidates that the people assaulted with these ridiculous ads, and you knew the mess couldn't be true, the majority of it. So I voted for the people that were assaulted the worst.
Oh, yeah, and I actually have, Michael, you're not the first person to say that to me, that that the negativity of the campaigns themselves were a turnoff, and that they were like, okay, enough. The same with text messages. I've had people say to me, I've threatened it before, but this time it was true. If someone text messaged me every day, they didn't get my vote. And so, I think the pendulum has started to swing that way. This was a very negative runoff election cycle here in Alabama, and I hope that doesn't become the norm. Hopefully, and most of the candidates who were the ugliest, those candidates did not, in fact, win. And hopefully, their consultants take a reflective look at what happened there.
All right, thank you for listening to my opinion.
Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Yeah, Michael brings up a very good point in terms of turnout. That this is across. We have had this problem, both parties, for a long time, where turnout is so low that a vocal minority can do some real damage in terms of who they elect. We struggle with voter participation, and then voters really knowing. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to elections are people who vote off of a mail piece. You have so much more to go on than the mail you get or the ads you hear or those things or the ads you see. Most of the individuals coming in have some sort of record. Endorsements matter. We saw the endorsements, both John Wall and Barry Moore having the Trump endorsement. Endorsements matter to the extent where you can in your head know, that they're going to have this support. But look at their actual records. We had John Wall in here with us on Friday, and he was talking about his record on the library board. That matters to people. That matters to individuals who are looking at our state come under assault. I by the way, I looked up AJ. You've got Fox News on in there too, I guess. I looked up, and there was a man out at a public fountain. I don't even know what to call it. It was skipping. It was prancing. I will have to tell you when it's back up again. Frolicking. That's the word I was looking for. There was a naked man frolicking at a LGBTQ event with children around. I go back to last week's discussion, and I feel like it should maybe be an everyday discussion, but this is where we need the men to be men again. Like, you're out there, AJ, with your young daughter. Your daughter's a toddler now, right?
Mm-hmm.
She gets to be a couple years older where she's actually more aware of her surrounding. A grown man starts frolicking nude in front of you. What are you going to do? Like, that would not be okay with you.
No.
You would probably remove your daughter from the situation first off, I would assume. But if he's all up in your space, I assume most men, given that situation, are going to physically do what they need to do to stop that situation from occurring. We need more of that. We need. Oh, so there's images of Schumer at a pride parade. Lord have mercy. You have to keep an eye out for the nude frolicking, which now I just can't. I'm just going to keep saying that because it entertains me to no end. Men, do your job. Somebody needs to have tackled this guy. This guy needs to have been arrested. This is indecency. This is actual, literal, like, legal indecency to be running around children naked. And I don't care how much the left or the LGBTQ wants to normalize it. It should not be normal. It should not. We should not live in a society where adults are like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go to a, air quotes, family-friendly parade with a bunch of kids, and I'm going to take all my clothes off, and I'm just going to let them see me naked as a jaybird. No! Cut it out. Also, I'll go back. Oh, that's their same. Oh, no, this is a Muslim parade, which we got to talk about the Somali Independence Day and the elected officials out there celebrating Somali Independence Day. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say we should not be celebrating any Independence Day except ours. If you want to go celebrate another nation, go to that nation. I feel strongly about this. If you are an immigrant and you are out there, touting how great this other country is, fine, go home to it. Fine, return, go ahead. There was a big Somali Independent Day event, and this goes back to the assimilation. There is a reason that we need for, it used to be America is a melting pot. You come here and we make these stronger communities together, and we kind of incorporate a little bit from each culture into our everyday living. That's not what's happening now. What's happening now is this us versus them, and they're taking advantage of us. All right, back in a minute. You're listening to Leland Live with April Marie.